What's going on, YouTube? The Honda Pilot and Nissan Pathfinder have long been some of the top picks for family three-rows in America. However, both models' previous generations stayed on sale past their prime. But now we have brand new versions of both these models. And since a bunch of you guys have requested this comparison, we're going to be facing them off head to head. So which of these two Japanese competitors has created the best three-row SUV for you and the family? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's quickly establish the pricing and trim levels. Starting with the all-new Pilot, we have the Elite trim, which is the top trim of the new generation. Honda offers no additional option packages, so after destination, the total rings in at $53,375. The Pathfinder was fully redesigned about a year ago, but for its second model year of this generation, Nissan has increased the price a bit for the fully loaded Platinum trim we have today. After adding the few needed options for equivalency and the destination charge, the total is nearly identical to the Pilot at $53,840. But let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of this comparison, starting with the exteriors. Like I already mentioned, both are rocking brand new designs, and funnily enough, they have undergone similar changes. Both have transformed from very urban designs to tougher and more rugged looks with squared off grills. Off to the sides, we have rectangular LED headlights, both the reflector style and LED daytime running lights. Both also have LED fog lamps, but one noteworthy difference are the incandescent turn signals on the Nissan. Moving to the side, both models are on the larger side of the segment, but the Pilot still has about a 2-inch advantage, which will be helpful for it later in the comparison. As far as design, the Pathfinder is one of the only three-row SUVs to offer a two-tone roof option, and both have nice-looking 20-inch alloy wheels. And then around back, the designs and features are shockingly similar, besides for the Pilot being more squared off. Both have branding across the back, a black accent, partially LED taillights, and exposed wipers. The Pilot also has exposed dual exhaust outlets, but the Pathfinder can tow 1,000 more pounds. Now, checking out some of the individual features, both of their mirrors have heating, blind spot monitoring, and power folding. The only difference is that only the Pilot has auto dimming. Now, safety is paramount, so in addition to blind spot monitoring, both also include forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, adaptive cruise control with stop and go, lane keeping assist, and auto high beam headlights. Warranty coverage is also the same, except for the 2 years of complimentary maintenance you get on the Pilot. But the outside is of small importance compared to the interiors, so let's see who wins on functionality, features, and luxury. As we move towards the doors, both have smart entry systems and remote start. And then looking inside, we have boxy interior designs that mimic the exteriors. They also look pretty upscale, which is the direction many in this class have been moving towards. Now, starting with the seats themselves, both have 10 ways of adjustment: heating, ventilation, and memory. They are also covered in real leather, but Pathfinder has higher grade semi-aniline leather. When it comes to overall material quality, they are pretty similar, but after a close inspection, the Pathfinder has the advantage. It simply is using more leatherette for the door trims and the center console areas, which are the areas that you come in contact with most frequently. After startup, you'll see digital gauge clusters on both, although the Pathfinder's is a couple inches larger than the Pilot's, which is borrowed from the Civic. Both of them also have head-up displays, rain-sensing wipers, and heated steering wheels, although it is also power adjusting on the Nissan. Another area of importance is interior storage, since these are family crossovers after all. Even though the Pilot's minivan armrests are gone this year, there is still an enormous amount of space. Both have large center consoles, ample bin space for cell phones, and even passenger storage shelves. But the Nissan has a center pass-through, which is making good use of the opportunity afforded by its electronic shifter. Honda also has an electronic shifter, just of the push-button variety. And when in reverse, both have 360-degree camera systems. Moving above, we have 3-zone automatic climate controls, both with easy-to-use physical knobs and buttons. And speaking of knobs, that now brings us to the volume knobs. So let's give the audio systems a sample. As you would probably expect, they sound very similar, being of the same brand and only one speaker apart. Now it's time to take a look at the screens. A lot of brands have been moving to increasingly large displays, but Nissan and Honda have ignored that trend in these two. The top trims of both come with 9-inch touchscreens, with navigation, plus Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Just keep in mind, both systems are wireless in the Pilot, while only Apple CarPlay operates that way in the Pathfinder. Last but certainly not least, for the front of the interiors, both models have auto-dimming rearview mirrors and single-piece panoramic sunroofs. Now heading around to the rear, this is perhaps just as important as the front, because if they don't do a good job here, then you'll have 5 people complaining to you, and no one wants that. Now the Pathfinder has significantly less space on paper, but we independently verified with a ruler that they actually have nearly identical legroom in real life. The difference is due to measuring methods. And as far as the features back here, they have an identical list of niceties to ward off those complaints. There are rear climate controls, vents, USB ports, household power outlets, sunshades, and the seats themselves are heated. Both also have some cool removable features. What I mean by that is that the Nissan comes with a removable center console, and the Pilot comes with an even more useful removable center seat and console. This means you don't have to choose between bench and captain chair seating in the Pilot like you have to do with the Nissan. Let's head to the next row of seats. Remember that difference in size on the outside? Well, this is where it really begins to have an impact in the interior, because the Pathfinder's third row legroom substantially lags behind the Honda's, although headroom is about the same. Honda has one of the best third rows in the segment, and it also has one of the biggest cargo holds, which is probably its biggest advantage in this comparison. But before we get into that, both do have power tailgates with hands-free opening. Now back to the space, Pilot overall has 8% more cargo capacity as a maximum, but it also has over the 5% advantage threshold at all 3 configurations. Alrighty, that's it for the interiors, so now let's get them out on the streets and see how they perform behind the wheel. Recently in this class, there has been a move towards engine downsizing, but these two brands have resisted that trend. Both are rocking traditional 3.5-liter V6 engines that make almost identical power figures for both horsepower and torque. As expected, this also means they accelerate very similarly. Alright, that's
nice.
60. Yeah, so that right there is really one of the elements that we both really like about this Pathfinder. Having a strong, nice sounding V6 engine under the hood. So like we already mentioned, you do have that 3.5 liter VQ series V6. So Nissan's kind of sticking the traditional route compared to some of the rivals. As you know, we have a lot of turbo 4-cylinder competitors. Most recently, the Highlander was added to that list of switching to a turbo 4-cylinder. So if you're someone who likes that V6 kind of feel, and the power and the sound that's associated with that, that's going to make Pathfinder a pretty good option. All right,
Very
so
nice.
there's a quick burst of acceleration here in the all-new Pilot. So, as we have stated previously, the most powerful Honda Pilot ever. Now, it's not by a ton. It's actually just by 5 horsepower. But nevertheless, it still does have that new 3.5-liter V6 engine, 285 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. And, guys, I think this is probably important to you, at least from the comments we see from you guys down below. It's got a V6 still.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of the powertrains, let's talk transmissions. Thankfully, Nissan dropped the CVT from the previous generation in favor of a 9-speed automatic, and Honda switched its 9-speed for a 10-speed this year. While more gears doesn't make it better, the in-house developed 10-speed is smoother and more responsive than the ZF 9-speed in the Pathfinder. Both also have torque vectoring all-wheel drive systems. Now, another important aspect of the powertrain, of course, is the transmission, and I'm happy to say that Honda has made some big improvements in this area compared to the previous generation. As you might remember, we used to have a 9-speed ZF-sourced automatic transmission. That one had, some issues with kind of shift quality, basically. Now we've got a 10-speed automatic transmission, and this is a Honda-developed transmission. Alright, I also want to talk about the transmission. So thankfully that's one area that Nissan did not go with what they had with the previous generation. Of course, they had that continuously variable transmission.
Whew, thank goodness.
We don't have that anymore. We've switched to a 9-speed automatic transmission. This is a ZF-sourced automatic transmission. So if you might remember from some of the other applications that was in, there was a little problematic of a transmission. This is the second generation, so it's quite a lot better than some of the other applications from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There are some small hesitations when you're at city speeds, and particularly when you go from reverse to drive, like after a cold start, there's a hesitation.
Yeah.
Even under hard accelerations, both engines are smooth and refined, while also having powerful growls that are missing from the 4-cylinder competitors. At 55 miles per hour, we also collected sound level readings to check noise entering the cabins. We had to take the pilot's reading while we were at a press event, so unfortunately, the reading isn't entirely comparable as the roads were rougher in Arizona. Nevertheless, these were the numbers we obtained until we can retest back in Kentucky.
And I do want to get our sound level reading going 55 miles an hour. It's one of our Car Confections signature elements that we can compare to some of the rivals in terms of the noise level entering into the cabin. .8 decibels is what we were sitting at. Very good reading. .6 is our official Car Confections reading.
Now, speaking of smooth and refined, that perfectly describes both vehicles' ride qualities. They absorb all but the largest road imperfections and emphasize comfort. Handling-wise, the Honda has better body control when cornering, which makes it feel like a smaller vehicle.
But let's go ahead and talk about our ride quality for the Pathfinder. Of course, this is a family 3-row, so really the main mission is for it to ride smooth and comfortable. We actually have had 2 Pathfinders for a week, so we had one last year when it was all new out. We actually took it on a 6-hour road trip just one way and 6 hours back, so we have quite the extensive experience with how this vehicle rides, and it is incredibly smooth. Nissan has done a fantastic job with the ride quality. It's A+ for the segment, and that's really all I got to say about that. And I also want to add that the seats are awesome. These are some of the most comfortable seats I've sat in. I do want to talk about your ride quality because that, of course, is a big thing with the Honda Pilot. This is a family 3-row SUV. So how does it ride? Well, here in the Elite trim level, I am super happy with the ride quality. The seat's incredibly comfortable. We're about to go over a bridge. It just really soaks it up. This is a fantastic riding vehicle. Of course, this segment is known for being good riding, so it needs to have that characteristic, and the Pilot definitely does.
And lastly, for fuel economy, both are rather unremarkable in this regard, and neither of them offer a hybrid at this time. And there we have it. These two close rivals fought it out every step of the way. Really, it's a testament to how good so many options have become in this class over the last few years. You couldn't be blamed for choosing either option, which is why we really want to hear your guys' opinions in the comments below. Which of these two would you pick for your family? Or would you pick something entirely different, like the Telluride? That might be a hint at a future comparison. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this car confections comparison, and we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That helps us continue to make more comparisons, full reviews, auto show coverage, and more for you guys to see the latest and greatest cars. Also consider following us on TikTok and Instagram if you enjoy shorter forms of content, and we'll catch you later as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.